Hello friends, welcome to another video which is a part of a series of video on learning the basics of coding. Today I'm going to talk about the tools that we will be using to practice writing our code. And like I mentioned in my previous video, sometimes this is the difficult part. Coding is easy, but many times we get stuck in configuration of tools or run into issues with tools, and it kind of gives an experience or a feeling that coding is tough, but it's really the tools many times. And once you can get the tools sorted out, getting started on the code is much easier. So since we are going to learn the basics of coding in the C++ language as part of this course, I will be using one of the open source tools called as code blocks. So you can actually write C++ code in a lot of ways. There are a lot of editors, lot of integrated development environments like Visual Studio. There is Turbo C, where you can write C and C++ code. That there are a lot of ways to do that, but code blocks is like, one, it is free. Second, I found it pretty simplified and easy to use, and we can just focus on coding rather than on tools once we get set up. So I'm going to start by going to the download links for the code blocks. Now I will be having these links in the YouTube video description, as well as on the site bricksandmortar.online, which is where I am actually listing all the links to the videos for this course. So code blocks can be downloaded from this site www.codeblocks.org/downloads, and you can just go ahead and click on download the binary release and download from either FOSSUP or SourceForge.net. Choose whatever operating system you're using. I'm using Windows 10 here, so I just go ahead and I downloaded this SourceForge.net, and I let me actually go to the download folder. So I downloaded this file. I actually executed it. Running it is pretty simple. Installation is pretty straightforward. Just double click on this and just follow the instructions. Click on next. I installed it to its default location. Now once the code blocks is installed, it will prompt you to run it. I have already opened code blocks at my end, so let me go ahead and open code blocks, and you should be able to see this window once you have installed code block. Since I already created some project as part of last videos, you can see the list of recent projects, but otherwise you will typically see, like in case of a new installation, you won't see any recent projects or recent files. So let's go ahead and create a new project. Once again, we'll go ahead with the console application hello world, and like I promised, we still have to describe in more detail about this, but for now we are still going to just write a simple program, and just I want to demonstrate a few other steps or configurations that might be required for this tool. So let's give it hello world. Today is today is 1st of July, so I'll just say 1 July, and let me go ahead and click on next, and I choose a compiler, GNU GCC compiler. This is the important part, and I click on finish. Now when I actually installed it for the first time, I was trying to do a build, I was trying to do to run, and nothing was happening. And then I did some research on the internet, and I found out that there are a few settings. In most of the cases, these settings should automatically be set correctly. In my case, I had to do some additional steps. So let me actually explain you these additional steps. So the first one was about the compiler, and I didn't actually have any compiler configured in my case. So I had to kind of like actually uh, figure out how to get the compiler linked or configured for my code blocks installation. So in most cases, what I've seen is that if you click on auto detect, you should be able to fix the setting. In my case, it was pointing, this compiler's installation directory was pointing to a non-existent folder, and clicking on auto detect was not doing anything. Someone suggested on the internet to go to the installation directory of the code blocks, and there you would find the GNU compiler. It would typically be in a folder min.gw. For me, even that was not the case. So I did some additional research, and I found that there are like multiple compilers, and I actually downloaded this TDM GCC compiler, and this is again it like I reached this website by going searching for min.gw, and I actually downloaded this 64-bit. This includes both the 32-bit and the 64-bit min.gw compiler. It will include the GNU's GCC compiler. So I just downloaded this, and I installed it in the same folder. So I downloaded this file tmd64-gcc-9.2.0. By default, it installs in a folder in C drive, but what I wanted was I just installed it in the code blocks folder, which is there in the C program files code blocks. So if you see my code block settings, you'll see that I installed this in the C program files code blocks tdm-gcc-64 folder, and I'm gonna quickly open that folder for you. And you'll see like there are a lot of files, and all that you need to do is just point to this folder in the compiler, and it kind of fixes any compiler issues. Once you do this, I was able to like go ahead and build my code and run my application. So to give you an example, let me first open the file, and I'm going to build it, and if you see, it is actually doing a build, and we should be shortly able to run it. We would see that the file has been generated, with the exe file has been generated, and I'm going to just go ahead and run it, and the console application should show up. It appeared in another window, another monitor, so I just bring it in the monitor where I'm doing the recording, and we would see the output of the program. So all good. Now another setting that was mentioned was about the debugger, and we will come to the debugger in one of the future lectures, but the one simple configuration that you need to do is just point to this C program files code blocks, the tdm-gcc-64 folder, and within that there is a bin folder, and within that just point it to gdb.exe, something like uh, uh, the debugger. It's basically the G debugger, and we'll make use of this in some of the future lectures. So this is debugger is a very useful feature of most of the programming languages or programming frameworks, I would rather say. And once you set this, we should be all good writing a program. You can just go ahead and create a new project. Now what is a project? So typically we write code in a file, and doing simple tasks, one file is enough, but doing complex tasks or large projects would uh, typically have hundreds of files, and a project is nothing but just a way to organize those files. And there can be different types of projects. You might be making a console application, so you want to have some you like kind of need to do some work which is very common in all console applications, or you want to probably make a Windows application, or you want to make a game like a DirectX project. So all these are like project templates. They indicate what kind of application will come out, or will be like basically we build using those templates. So if I'm making a console application, I will use a console application project template. If I'm making, let's say, a DirectX, a game related library, I might use a DirectX project. If I'm creating a DLL to be used by multiple EXEs, I might use a DLL, dynamic link library project. So project is really a way to organize multiple files in a complex program or a complex application. And in the project, you would see like sources folder, and then you would see a list of files. And I just wanted to limit this lecture to setting up tools. So we will go through this program in our next lecture. I will explain some more concepts, and then probably start with important concepts like variables, functions, and few other things in the next lecture. Thank you.